Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today, Masechtas Beis Daf Lamed Vav. We are going to begin on the very top of Amud Aleph. Hasam Tanan. Over there, we learned, which is a continuation of the Mishnah that we quoted on yesterday's daf, that Mafadin Arba V'Chamish Kupos Shel Tevin Bel Shel Tvua Mimnei Orchim Mimnei Bittul Beis HaMedrash, that a person is allowed to clear out 4 or 5 areas of buckets worth of straw and grain in order to be able to clear out space so you can have guests, or in order to be able to have Talmidim to be able to sit there and to be able to learn Torah. So there it also mentions of a lo esa otzer. A person is not allowed to completely remove it, and the reason why you're not allowed to completely remove it, as Rashi explains, is because once you remove it all, you'll notice the actual floor, and you may end up seeing that there's going to be a bunch of holes, and you're going to maybe smooth them out. And a person is not allowed to be meshabeh gumos, allowed to fill out holes. And therefore, because of that, we don't want you to clear out everything. V'yomer Shmuel, my avalo asa oitzer. Avalo, it means avalo yigmor asa oitzer. Cool, you can't take the whole thing out. Dilma asli shabi gumos, as we said, because otherwise you may fill in those holes. Hachamai, what is the din when it comes to the fruits on the roof? Do we say that you're not allowed to remove all of them for that same issue? Hasamhu b'Shabbos the aser. Maybe on Shabbos it's aser to do so mishum dechamer, because we're very strict. Of a Yom Tov, which is our Mishnah with these fruits on the roof, to keel, that we're more lenient, the dinim of Yom Tov is more lenient, shaper dami, you can remove them all of them. Odilma, hasam dikabil beis medrash, over there, even though there's an issue of bittul beis medrash, we need space so that people will be able to sit down and learn Torah. Nonetheless, amrit lo, we still say you can't do it. So hacha doleika bittul beis medrash, our case where there's no bittul beis medrash, well, kosher certainly shouldn't be able to. V'hacha tanan, and here we learned mashilin peros der charuba b'yamtiv, which again was the quote of our Mishnah in the beginning of this parak, that a person is allowed to remove these fruits by pushing them through the skylight. Yomer Rab Nachman lo shanu el ba'osa hagag. You can only use that roof. Aba megag v'gag lo. You can't transport it from one roof to the other. That already is too much of a tircha. V'tanya nami hachi ein metalton megag v'gag. You can't bring it from one roof to the other. Afilu kishigag goseihin shavin. Even if they're exactly the same level, so therefore it's not like you have to physically lift it up to get to the next roof or push it down. So hasam mai. What is the din when it comes to over there? Do we also have these stringencies when it comes to these kupos of removing the tevin and the tvua? So let's just read the parentheses. Koshikin Shabbos Tachmir Odilma. Hacha hu de aser mishum yomtiv. The keel yasel zuzulibei. Maybe the reason why I can't bring it from one roof to the other is because it's yomtiv, because it's so lenient in general. If we have more leniencies, people are going to be mezalzel the yomtiv. El Shabbos the chamira, because Shabbos is so strict. A person is not going to be mezalzel. So Shabbos dami, therefore we allow you to do certain things because a person is not going to come to disgrace the Shabbos. Odilma, maybe you can say the other way around. Mahacha, over here, the Iga Hafsid Peros, where there's the possibility of monetary loss because your fruits are going to get ruined. Nonetheless, Amrit Lo, you can't transport it from one roof to the other. So Hasam, the Ika, the Leka Hafsid Peros, there's no financial loss. You're just trying to clear out space for someone to go into that area. Well, Koshikin, you shouldn't be able to do it. Hacha Tanan, or Hacha Tanya, we learned, Lo Yishal Shalim B'chevel, you're not allowed to lower the fruits with a rope, B'chalonos, through these windows. V'lo Yardem Derech Solomais, and you also cannot bring them down through ladders. Hasamai, what's the din when it comes to over there, when it comes to Shabbos? Hacha b'yamtav hu da'aser deleka bittul beis medrash. Over there, even though in our case where there's no bittul beis medrash, it's still us to do, so maybe that's why. Avol Shabbos deka bittul beis medrash shaper dami, because the bittul beis medrash are going to be more lenient to allow to clear it out by putting it through other means, through windows or using ladders. Odilma hacha dika hasid paris amrit lo. Our case, even though there's a monetary loss, we're still strict. So hasa deleka hasid paris so koshikain teku. So in all these possible questions, we leave with a boya del ishata. We do not know the answer. And then the Mishnah says, that you're allowed to cover up the fruits in the event that there's things that are going to drip on them, and again it'll be hesed. So Omer Ula. So Ula said, "V'afilu avira delivni." You can even cover up piled bricks from getting spoiled. Rav Yitzchak Omer. Rav Yitzchak says, "Omer peros haruyin." It has to be only fruit. And Rashi says, "Dafka peros haruyin latiltal." Only things that are fit to be able to move do the Rabbanan allow you to be able to cover it up with a kli. However, something which is not a bar tiltal, like these bricks, that you're not allowed to do. Rabbi Yitzchak goes into his reasoning who's strict. Rabbi Yitzchak en kli nitl el davar hanitl b'Shabbos. You can only cover up something in which in itself is able to be moved on Shabbos, which excludes these bricks. Tanan. B'chasin as a peros b'kelim, it says that you can cover up the fruits. Now it's mashma, peros in, avira delivni lo. So it's a question on ula. Now who adan defilu avira delivni? Really the truth is you could even cover up bricks. So why does it mention the lesser chiddush? Because our Mishnah is talking about fruits, putting them through the skylight, so it just continues talking about fruit. But the truth is, it's not only fruit. So seifanami machasen as a paris. It's not. Again, it's seemingly only giving examples of things in which are food, which excludes bricks. Now, hakamaiskinan betivla. We're talking about that this is tevel. Says Rashi, koloimer loba lashmiacha kiim kiyotze b'levenim. It's comparing it just like bricks that are muksa. And Rashi says, betivla askinan sheser and betiltal. When it comes to tevel, and that's supposed to separate chumas and maasros. If you do, okay, it's fine, but you're not supposed to. So therefore, it really has the din of muksa. And therefore, these fruits, which are tevel, are just like these bricks that you're allowed to cover up. Hachinami mistabra. And this is very logical. If we're talking about just these wine and oil, the hatera, just regular mutter food, so hatanile reisha peros. We already talked about fruit, so there's no chiddush. No, maybe that's not a raya. You think maybe you would think when it comes to only by great hesed, like when it comes to all the fruit on your roof. However, when it comes to kadiyain kadishemen, which is not such a tremendous loss, so in that situation, we don't say this din. Kamashmon, even when it comes to a hesed mu'at, says Rashi, Yishamim hanoit bin al yayin hesed mu'atu. That's considered to be a smaller loss. However, when it comes to fruit, it'll get completely rotten or ruined. And therefore, the chiddush of kadiyain kadishemen is even when it comes to a hesed mu'at, we have this leniency. Tanat. Nice than kli tachas adelaf b'Shabbos. It says you can put a kli underneath a drippings. Now, l'chayra, that's something which is muksa. Where it says bedelaf haroy, it's actually these drippings are fit, and Rashi says they're royan lebehema. They actually are fit for an animal. So therefore, it's not considered to be like muksa. Tashma, porsin machselos al gabi levenim b'Shabbos. A person is allowed to spread mats on top of these bricks on Shabbos. So we see it's certainly not a problem. You're allowed to do this. Now, the itar mivnina the chazil mazgalayu. The reason is that these bricks are actually fit for sitting on, and therefore they're not considered to be like muksa bricks that are stacked up. They're just like extra bricks that are lying around. Toshma, porsin machselos al gabi avanim b'Shabbos. You can spread mats on top of stones. Again, ba'avanim mikurzolos. The chazal basic say these are not just regular stones. These are, a person can use them to wipe themselves in a bathroom. Toshma, porsin machselos al gabi kuris divurim b'Shabbos. A person is allowed to spread mats over these like honeycombs on Shabbos. In order to protect it from the sun, to protect it from the rain, a person is allowed to do this. But you cannot have intention to be doing this to capture or trap the bees. Fine. So otherwise, you're allowed to do this. There's honey in it, and since there's honey in it, it's not a muksa item. I understand during the time in which it's the season in which honey is developed. The mostly geshamim during the rainy season where there's no honey in it, Michael Maymar. So it's considered to be muksa. So again, it's a raya that you could even cover up non-muksa items. It's referring to those two honeycombs that are found inside. There's always at least shtei chalos that are found inside the beehive, and therefore that's why it's not muksa. So asan shtei chalos muksa same. What are you talking about? Those two are considered to be muksa. The reason why it's not considered to be muksa is because the person actually had das and had intention to be able to use them. So what is that mashma? So you're going to tell me it's all totally on whether you have das on those shtichalos, on those two pieces of honey. So adatani why does it say, oh, make sure that you don't have intention to trap? It shouldn't say that. It should actually make a distinction in the thing itself and say you can do it and cover it up if you had das for those two honeycombs. So why does it mention latsud? It must be that this is not the chiluk. This is not a distinction. Even if a person does have the proper intentions, you still cannot have the intention to trap. That is still not allowed. So, but my okumta. So, how are we establishing all this? Rabbi Yehuda Yislei Muksa. We're establishing this whole thing is like the shita of Rabbi Yehuda, not like Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda who holds a muksa. So ema seifa. Eventually schavin latsud. Just don't have the kavana. Now atan Rabbi Shimon. Do you ever shenim schavin mutter? Now the fact that he says it that way, it's mashma the whole issue is kavana. So if it's a davar shenim schavin, then according to Rabbi Shimon it's mutter. So the reisha sounds like Rabbi Yehuda. Seifa sounds like Rabbi Shimon. So which one is it? But Tizbra, Rabbi Shimon. Is it really logical? That's like Rav Shimon and Rabbi and Rabbi Tavai. They both say Mother Rav Shimon b'sekreishvul yomus. Even Rav Shimon holds they are now allowed to do something which is 100% not allowed. Even if it's a davar shenim mischavin, that's only acceptable if there's a chance that the malacha may not be done. If it's a psik ratio, like cutting off the chicken's head, yomus for it not to die, no, it will, and therefore that's so. Even according to him, he'll be moida. Well, who he really that we're going to say that the entire case is like the shita of Rabbi Yehuda who holds a muksa. So how do we understand this whole case of having kavana for trapping? It has a window. You know, there's a window in the beehive. Says Rashi, there is like this window, an opening in the beehive. Even if you cover up its edge, it doesn't really get trapped. If you don't also cover that other part, that other window of the beehive. What it really is saying is don't close the whole thing. Don't close up those windows. That's actually what it's referring to. And don't say Rabbi Yehuda actually is chavin latsud that you shouldn't have kavanah to trap. As we continue to lamed vav lamed beis el emu vad shlo yasen matsuda. Don't actually make it into a trap. So pshita. So if that's the case, it sounds pretty obvious. So of course that's what you're not supposed to do. So manatema b'mino notsud aser shlo b'mino notsud mutter kamash malon. When it comes to the min, when it's the thing itself. Then it's usher. However, shalobimino, if it's, let's say it's not its species, then it is allowed. Kamashmon, that it is not. Says Rashi. Shederech latsud as b'nei minoi, the way that it's trapped, could go and chayiv of usher, like these animals. Abel hai the ein b'mino notsud shari kamashmon. You would think this is really not something which is typically trapped, and therefore it's not a problem. Kamashmon, there's still an isser of tzad of trapping bees on Yom Tov. Rav Ashi Yomer, Mikatani b'masach chami masach hashamim, v'chamni me'achamim v'geshamim ne'achamim katani. B'yom Nisan v'yom Tishrei the ikacham the ikachamim the ikadvash. Really, it's not talking about the rainy season where there's no honey. No, it's talking about because of the sun or the rain. But it's not really during a time in which there's no honey. There is honey, and therefore, in fact, it is not muksa, and therefore that's the reason why you're allowed to cover it. And therefore, again, it's not a question or a support to the sheet of Ula or to Rav Yitzchak. Maybe in fact it's true. The only time you have to cover things up is dafka when we're talking about with something which is a non-muksa item. Tana. V'noisen kli tachsadel v'shabbos. You can put a kli underneath a drip. Tana. Even this moli hakli. Not only that, if let's say the kli gets filled up with all this drip rainwater, shayfech, you can spill it out, v'shayna, and then repeat, put it back. Ve'enu nimna, and you don't have to hold back. As Rashi, Moshanis kohayim in tzarachakach, you can continue to do this all day if you need to. Just like when it came to, there was this dripping in the millstone, the area where Abaya was, dolaf that was dripping. Also kamei the Rabba, amrulei zil ayilei lipoirecha lahasam. Go and bring your bed to over there. Dolehavi kigraf shel re'i. Ve'avke. You can go and just like graf shel re'i. When it comes to waste, you're allowed to move it. So too these drippings, you're also allowed to remove them, and it's not an issue. Yosef Abai v'kokashel. He asked the question. So how are you allowed to make a graf shel re'i l'chatchila? Right? If it's already waste matter, bones, so you're allowed to move them, but l'chatchila you should be able to do so. The hachin nafal be'reich rechayid abaya. This structure fell. Omer, he said, tisili de avri adamar. And I deserve this because I violated the sheet of Mar. The fact that I questioned this whole question. Omer Shmuel, Grau Shel Re'i, the Avid Shel Meraglayim, where there's a bedpan also for urine. Mutul Hoitzian Ashba, you can go and take it outside into the garbage. That's okay. Yogashu Machziro, however, when you return it, Noisin Bo Mayim, you should put some water in there. Lumachziro, and then return it. Why? The Muksan Makmas Miyusain. Because if you don't put water in it, it's repulsive. Sabrimina Grav Sharei Agav Mana in Bivnei Atzmalo. Maybe you could only bring the item through a kli, but you can't actually carry the actual waste matter itself, or this disgusting, repulsive thing itself. So on this, Tashma Dahu Achbarasa Dishdakach Be As Parmaki the Ravashi, that there was this mouse or rat that was found in the location of Ravashi. Omerlei Ravashi Nakta B'Suitseha B'Afgua. Go ahead and carry it, says Rashi, B'Znava, by its tail, and carry it out. Which means that when it comes to something which has the din of Graf Shel Re'i, that you can remove it, it's not just through a kli, you can physically, if you actually would want to do such a thing, pick it up, the item itself, and that's allowed. Says Taisus, Tasili de Amriyat Adamar, Afagad Amrin and La'el. Even we said previously, the Ein Eisen Graf Shel Re'i L'Chatchila, we did say that you're not supposed to make Graf Shel Re'i L'Chatchila, Sfirli Rabba, the Hachi Shari. Over here it's allowed, Mishum Seda de Bei Rachaya, because it would cause a major monetary loss. So therefore that's why you are allowed to do it. O Mishum Duloy Mikol Chatchila Kokach, Hacha Kivan Shahayu Geshamim Kvar. There was already rain there. Mizalvin Babayas in Kokach L'Chatchila Kamai Mizamnin Nachri. So in this situation, it's not you were planning this, but because it was dripping already, that's not considered to be like, oh, you did it l'chatchila. It's there because you had no choice. Okay. Alright, let's see the next Mishnah. Kol shechayav lo mishum shvus. Any time when a person can even be chayiv because of a shvus, mishum rishus, mishum mitzvah, b'shabbos, chayav and b'yavtiv. Now we're going to see that even though sometimes there may be good excuses that you're actually maybe almost doing a mitzvah, you can still be chayiv. There's still a prohibition of doing them. The Gemara is going to explain this a little bit better. Ve'elohein mishum shvus. What is a shvus? Oilan be'ilan. A person should not climb up a tree. V'loi roichvin al gabe behema, ride an animal on Yom Tiv. V'loi shatin al pnei amayim. A person not to go swimming. V'loi metavchin v'loi misapkin v'loi meraktin. We saw this already. The person not to clap and to dance, even though we said mutiv shiu shaygin, we don't really rebuke people for that. So all these different things a person should not do, even though it's a shvus. Ve'elhin mishum rishus. There's certain things which are not even on that level, a higher level like a rishus. Lodonin, we still do not allow this on Yom Tiv. You cannot have court cases. V'lo mekadshin, person not to get married. V'lo choltzin, v'lo miyabnin. No chalitza, no yibam. We'll discuss this on tomorrow's daf. Ve'elhin mishum mitzvah. then even when it comes to a mitzvah, certain things should not be done on Yom Tov. V'lo makdishin, v'lo marichin, v'lo machrimin. A person's not allowed to make things hektish or an erichin to say this is my value, or to sanctify things. All these things are not supposed to be done. Also, v'lo migbihin truma a meiser. A person is not supposed to separate trumas and meisers on Yom Tov. Kol elo be Yom Tov amru kabachayim b'Shabbos. Can't do that on Yom Tov. Kabachayim can't do it on Shabbos. Ein bein Yom Tov l'Shabbos el echad nemesh bovad, which is the famous quote, the Ein Bains in the first paragraph of Masechtas Megillah, which we'll get to shortly. The only difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov is eichel nefesh for the sake of cooking. So now let's just see a few more lines. Lo olin be'ilan, why can't you climb up a tree on Yom Tov? Because you may break off a branch while you're climbing up. Lo yireichel, you can't ride an animal because you may actually go outside of the boundaries. You may end up going beyond where you're supposed to go because, again, you're not walking, so you may not necessarily notice the different the boundaries of the tchum. So shema mina tchumim deraisa. So this is a raya. The fact is, it must be a din deraisa. The fact you're making a gzeira rechiva at the tchumim, that must be a raya that tchum are deraisa. So we say, well, even though maybe there are shittas that say that, but we're going to come up with a different reason. You may end up breaking a branch. So, in order to be able to direct your animal, which of course is the right. So, you're not allowed to swim. Which basically means you'll make some type of floating device in order to be able to protect yourself from drowning. Why can't you clap and dance? So Gezerah Shema Yisakin Klishir, because we're concerned that you may end up, once you're engaged in music, you may end up using musical instruments, and if one breaks, you may end up fixing it when itself is a problem. Okay, that's that part of the Mishnah. We'll continue with the Rishum Rishus on tomorrow's daf. Let's just see a couple more questions and we'll stop. Devashi B'chayris, when it comes to the honeycombs. Okay, this is question TA11. Ha'im yeshbo mishum isser muksal Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yehuda, is there an isser muksa? So he says b'dvash atzmo in. So when it comes to the honey itself, there is no din of muksa. Shtei chalos, when it comes to the two chalos inside, yesh isser muksa. There is an isser muksa. El imkin chishalan, as we said, unless you had intention before. If you had das, then it's something which is okay. TB12. You can cover up fruits because of drips. What is the whole chiddush when it comes to oil and wine? So we said that first of all, it's talking about tevel, so it has the same din as muksa. Nonetheless, we learned that a kli nitel, you can use a kli to cover up even something which you're not allowed to carry, to move, such as a brick or fruit which is not tied. And the second chiddush is the that even though, unlike the hesen meruba, moving the fruits and putting them so it'll go down your skylight, which is hefsen meruba, even the drippings on kadi yain kadi shemen, even though it's a hefsen mu'at, still we are going to be lenient in order to protect you from even a minor monetary financial loss. Adkan.